What a grinder pump is, it might sound gross, but what it does is it grinds up solids, like poop. Welcome back, everyone. It's another day here at the house, and we're gonna start off with the issue I left off with last time, the light that wasn't working. I did a little bit of investigating before turning the camera on. It was really bothering me. I couldn't figure it out, and I didn't really believe it was the switches. So I did some voltage testing. It wasn't the switches. I did find the issue, and I'll show you. I pulled this open, and it looks like, because one of the ends was already twisted. It was in a wire nut, and when I took it off, I think it was a little bit weak. So this is the neutral off the main line, the hot line coming in. So that was broken off, and yeah, you got to be careful with those ends. But that's why it's nice to test. It's not anything that would have caused a fire or anything like that. It's not that kind of issue. Just you can't work if you can't. Your electrical won't work unless you can complete the circuit. So I'm going to reattach this, and I'm sure these lights will work just fine. So another thing I did before starting up the camera, so obviously, this is being recorded well before, it actually reaches you guys on YouTube. And Ray had just put out episode, 71 here, and I didn't actually watch the video. Sometimes I'll just scroll through, watch the comments, and watching the video. I don't always do that. I don't always have time, and quite frankly, I was here, so I don't always watch it. But every now and then, when I look through the comments, I see things that really confused me. There was an overwhelming amount of people commenting about, looking for my gray hairs, or, being the first to know if I have a gray hair. Loved the montage, all that. And Ray, you did it again. Really? So yeah, I'm going to be a lot more careful about not stepping in front of the camera. I promise. So sometimes I set it up, and you just got to shift position. I'm not really thinking about it, and yeah, I step in front of the camera, and I'm sure I do it a lot. Ray edits it out, so maybe I've been a little coddled in that sense. I wasn't getting the backlash for it, so but now I know, so I'll be sure to make sure it's pointed the right direction. So with that said, we should get going here. So I'm gonna start on that, and we'll see what we're up to afterwards. I didn't actually come in with much of a plan today. I just put together a little bit of a list I need to keep going with the plumbing and other things. But there's always something to do, so I'm gonna figure that out after. All right, let's get to it. Why don't you turn off? You want to take it, once again, you always want to see these wires kind of twist together. That's kind of important. So, let's see. Just turn you around here. All right. And let's flick the switch. And we have power, just like that. So, funny thing about electrical, a lot of times the difficulty is finding the problem. Once you find the problem, it's usually an easy fix. Not always. But in this case, it was a very easy fix. So the other house is on the property is now vacant, and I should clear it up for anybody who's new to this channel. When we bought this property, there were 2 houses on the property. One was occupied with a tenant. They recently moved out, so now we're simultaneously going to be fixing that one up. But there's also some hoard left behind from the previous hoarder, not the tenants, but the hoarder. So now we've kind of got access to the property. So I've already kind of started here in this shed. I'm going to finish going through it. There's not too much. It's not nearly as bad as the house, but we're going to go through it together. So far I got a bit of garbage. There's a lot of car parts in there, and looks like we got I don't know if that's a pipe or a handle. Got a clam digger, generator. Don't know if it runs, but can give it a shot. This table saw, not sure what condition it is. You know, fairly cheap table saw, but I'm sure it's, you know, well enough once if it runs. Got a miter saw. Once again, or actually it's a chop saw. You know, it's a chop saw. It doesn't have the yeah. Well, it's a compound miter saw anyway. We call it a chop saw because it only has the function of up and down. It's not a sliding miter saw. Anyway, yeah, this one isn't even branded. Oh no, it's it's kind of a no-name brand, generic brand. So at any rate, I got a fishing rod, a thatching rake, and yeah, we're gonna pull the rest out of here and see what it looks like. Well, found a compound bow. It's pretty damaged. Needs to be restrung. Not sure if it's even worth the effort. Halloween's coming up and it doesn't get creepier than that. what happens when 5 gallons of paint spills and gets left. It makes a nice acrylic mat. You can see all the stuff stuck into it. Say that's a load of garbage. Probably take that oven out. I'm gonna go grab a dolly. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's move on to something else. I think what I'm going to work on next is the subfloor. So I never actually finished it. I got everything set up here, and yeah, we gotta tie all this together. And this 1/4-inch OSB here, this was just tacked down. I just got some narrow crown staples into it right now. So it's kind of aloof and it's very irritating to walk on. So the idea is I'm going to be layering over all this. Now to make it essentially one piece, I'm going to be screwing the snot out of it. But most importantly, I'm going to have some longer screws that I'm going to be using along the joists. So I'm going to get all those located, and that way it ties in and should be part of the functional system that way as well. What I really don't like here is that they didn't use tongue and groove plywood. They just used regular construction plywood, which is what I got as well. But I'm going to be putting it over top, and I'm going to be doing a half lap basically. So all I have to do for that is just start with a full sheet in this corner, and it'll be lapped over because I'm actually starting, looks like about 16 inches in, and then it'll be lapped another 32 inches over this way, and that's plenty enough. So that should give me a good offset. If I start from that corner, take it around, that way it's like brickwork, everything just ties together real nice. As it is right now, it's not terrible, but the floor feels really spongy, and that's because some of these materials, they're on their own without being tied together properly. They're not meant to span this far. So once this is done, it should feel like a nice solid floor like the rest that we've already repaired. So not sure if you can tell, but this isn't the best looking plywood. So what I needed to complete this was kind of an odd size in order to match up to the other pieces there. It's 11/32. Now, you can't just get that in OSB, which I would have preferred. I actually prefer OSB for this kind of subflooring rather than plywood, and just because it's very consistent. So this plywood is really kind of gnarly, but it was either this or getting sort of a furniture grade plywood, which is about 60 bucks a sheet. So I opted for this, and there's going to be some filling, there's going to be some sanding, gonna have to do the whole bit, but it's fine in the end. It'll hold up just the same, but the process of putting it down, really annoying. And the screws I'm using, there's a little bit of a struggle there, so I'm kind of eager to use up this case. I've had it for years, and it's a bad batch of screws. So basically the heads don't stay on very well. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's a coating, maybe there was something wrong with whatever machine makes the screws, I don't know. But they don't stay in very well, so this is a perfect opportunity to just hopefully use that case up. Alright. So we got a vent here, but this position is going to move, so I'm just covering that over. That's not a problem. I stopped to have something to eat, and now I feel cold. It's getting to that time of the year. I don't know how to dress anymore. It's I put a sweater on and it gets too hot. Take it off, it gets too cold. Don't know what to do. So, not much left to do. I'm just going to finish that little strip there. I'm going to tack it down. I'm going to focus on some other stuff. Screwing this down, that's kind of a filler job. I don't mind doing a little later, as long as all the seams are down. Uh, it's important to get the seams down at least, just because we don't want any possibility of it lifting and some dust getting underneath. That could be really annoying. I also have a little bit of a squeak in the floor in the one corner, and what I think I need to do is add some joisting down below. So I'm going to get that taken care of probably before I screw everything off. I was just down there, and the span between the joists is about 20 some inches, 21 inches or so. That's too much. So I'm going to do something there, because that's how the existing structure was. The building inspector is not going to require me to make any changes there, but it's a good idea to stiffen things up as much as possible. There's already some wiring going through that space, so it's definitely preferable that we don't try and slip more joists in, just because there's no reasonable way of doing that short of removing all the lines, which I can do if I absolutely have to, but it's a real pain and I'd rather not. So let's get this last strip in and gonna hop on to something else. So I think next, because I really have to get around to this laundry room, that's really the biggest job left, aside from finishing up the plumbing and the HVAC, but finishing the laundry room is part of that. So I want to get in there, but before I do that, there's one thing outside of the laundry room that I have to have a look at. So I have another sump pit over here, and this one here, it looks like they were running all the washing machine and the sink here, and there was a shower. It all goes into here. I don't know if this pump is functional, so I really want to get in there. I also want to see if it's deep enough for a grinder pump. I don't believe there's one in there. There was no toilet down here, and that leads me to believe that it's probably not a grinder pump. Now, the problem with trying to add a grinder pump in, what a grinder pump is, it might sound gross, but what it does is it grinds up solids, like poop. And it allows it to go up the drain with the sump pump and into the septic. So I would like a grinder pump in there. I gotta check and see if it's not currently a grinder pump, then I probably have to take the entire pit out and put a deeper pit in so that we can fit one. So I'm gonna have a look at that. As of right now, if there is water in there, it's gray water. It might be a little gross, but it was pretty well sealed, and I'm assuming it's not gonna be more grossness, just nasty, stale water. So let's have a look. And I'm gonna test it too. I might pour some water in and just see if the pump does kick on, or just lift the bobber, I guess, and see if it kicks on. So let's get to it. I don't know what I'm gonna find in here. So I suppose wish me luck. That was pretty easy. This is a grinder pump. So this is already set up. I don't know why they didn't have a toilet down here. So this is wonderful news. Otherwise I would have had to have removed this whole pit. So I guess the other question, shouldn't run pumps dry, but I just want to check it for a second, see if it even kicks on. It's got power. All right, so I got a 5-gallon pail, should fit in just fine, and if it works, it's basically going to turn this into a water cannon. So let's see. Oh. Not looking good. It's been sitting like this a long time. Might just be seized. Yeah, better look at it. I'll get back to you on this one. Drip out right there. Once again, it's not actually poop water. So a grinder pump, similar to this one, if I was to try and replace it with a model of similar capacity, I'm looking at about $600 or $700. They're a lot more than typical submersible pumps because of that extra function. So it's worth investigating to at least see if it can run. If it can, it's worth salvaging. If not, we're not going to spend too long looking into it. But I have a hunch because it probably hasn't been run in a very long time, and it was in a very dry pit. So while it's sitting like that, there's a good chance it just kind of got seized in place. Maybe some gunk dried up on it, and who knows. But if I can get in and evaluate that it's kind of just stuck in place and then free it up, you run it for a little bit and it'll be good. Most equipment is meant to run. So if you don't run it, a lot of times it kind of just rots out on you. And yes, I've got gloves on because although it wasn't moving poop, I don't know what it was running, and it's probably still a bit gross, so I don't mind grabbing it from the pipe up top, but down here, not too interested. Especially when it's wet and I've managed to make all the gunk or whatever stuck to it kind of slimy now, so I might even just, I guess it doesn't matter too much, but it's best. And yes, after jobs like this, I do wash off the screwdrivers and things. Oh, see, that was stuck. That was really stuck. I think I gotta go a step further though. Take upper housing off. I don't think I actually freed it up. It'll actually unscrew right off of there. Running it that way, I couldn't move it the other direction. So I don't think I freed it up, but it is definitely just stuck. Oh, I did. Yeah, bugger. That's really stuck in there. Oh. I'm going to plug this in and we just want to see if it spins. That is it. good. That runs. All right, let's put it back together, see what happens. All right, so I ran into a bit of a snag. You'll see inside there. This little bit of metal right there shouldn't be there. It belongs right there. It snapped off as it was getting tightened on. So I'm going to see, there might be a way of fixing this. Otherwise, I'm kind of stuck getting another grinder pump, and that stinks. So I'm going to leave it on this piece of plywood just as it is, and I'm going to set this aside for the time being, and we'll see what happens.